is that not? There we go. That. And a Right. Oh, that is checked off. Checked off. I'm a little. I don't know. I'm on time. Thought it was a little early for streaming. Double check this. Let's move to other unseen. Chain two. No, not chain two. It's chain one. Feather in the last stitch of the last. Feather in the next two stitches. Wait, I didn't write that correctly. That needs to be deleted because that's just doesn't make sense. Peek to the end of the row. Okay. Waiting for more people to come in. Waiting for anybody to come in. Oh, hey, Grammy. I think it's going to, hope it's not going to be a quiet night. I'll wait for more people to come in before I get it underway tonight. Why does my OBS keep flashing? I don't like that. A weird thing that it's doing. Says I've got 3 people viewing. Oh, we'll see. Alrighty. Oh, Grammy and Old Stitcher are here. I guess I can get started because you guys are my regulars for this week, or irregulars. Can you all hear me good? I didn't change any settings. Okay. My software window keeps flashing every now and then when I click on something. Alrighty then. So we're going to get into this. We are doing, this is the Trinity stitch. Oh, oh, oh. Don't want to. Oh, hey. Yeah, I saw Old Stitchers here. I didn't see you come in. It takes a little while for it to update on my end to see who's actually here in the chat. Okay, so we're doing the Trinity stitch here, and I know Cinderella is going to be probably following along. The key to this stitch, and it's not really showing up that well in this gray fabric. I should have picked a different color. It almost looks like a waffle stitch, but it's not. Yeah, it's not really showing up that well. But the key is to use a larger hook. Normally when I do these, I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook. I've gone up to a wait, what does that say? A 6.5 millimeter hook. I've gone up 1 millimeter. So I went from an I to a K. And the key is, with this stitch, you want to stitch as loose as possible. Even with a larger hook, try to be loose, don't pull it tight. So, to get into this, I'm going to get out some slack of my yarn. This stitch is worked in a multiple of 2. So with a larger hook, I'm going to do a multiple of 2. So you're going to chain whatever your multiple is. I'm going to do 20. And keep your chain somewhat loose. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So do a multiple of 2. You can do it with a smaller hook, but you might have some issues because some of the stitches you're going to stitch into are going to be a little on the tight side. So, if you're following along, again, I can go slow as usual. So when you have your chain, even number of chains, what you're going to end up doing is the second chain from the hook, not the first one. The loop on the hook never counts as a stitch. So you're going to skip the first chain, and in the second chain, you're going to do a single crochet. Real basic. Okay. Then what we're going to do is something called single crochet 3 together. Again, at any point I can stop and start over. So we've got an even number of chains. Second from the hook, you're going to do a single crochet. Now, to do a single crochet 3 together, that exact same chain you went into, so again, there's still the second chain from the hook, where that single crochet is, you're going to put your hook in, yarn over, and bring up a loop. And you're going to leave it on the hook. You're going to do the same thing to the next 2 stitches. So the next chain, you put it in, yarn over, bring up a loop, leave it on the hook. And then the next chain after that, insert, yarn over, bring it up, and leave it on the hook. So to repeat, after you've got your first single crochet into the second chain, in that exact same chain, you go into the chain, yarn over, bring it up, leave it on, and do the same thing for the next 2 chains in a row, and you will have 4 loops on your hook. This is the part right now to kind of be very, very loose. So what you're going to do is you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull it through all 4 loops on the hook. So that is a single crochet 3 together. So you're doing 3 of them. Yarn over. After you've gone picked up a loop in those 3 chains, yarn over and very gently bring it through all of those loops. So I went through all 4. And don't pull real tight. Leave it loose. Does that make sense? If anybody's stitching along. Again, to recap, we've done an even number of chains. Second chain from the hook, we do a single crochet. In that same chain, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, bring it through the chain, leave the loop on the hook, and do the same thing for the next 2 chains. You'll end up having 4 on the hook, and then very loosely you'll yarn over and bring it through all 4 loops. That is single crochet 3 together. Now you're going to do 1 chain. That's the repeat. So now you've got your single crochet 3 together and 1 chain. Again, keep it as loose as possible. in that chain that you actually finished that 3 together in. So you can see that chain is where we did the 3 together. The 3 together is ending right there. You're going back into that same chain, and you're going to do a single crochet 3 together. So that's 1. Into the next chain, go in, yarn over, bring it up. We have another loop on the hook, and then in the third one, go in, yarn over, bring it up on the hook. We've got 4 on the hook, yarn over, and bring it through all 4. But again, try to be as loose as possible. That's where the bigger hook is going to help you also. And then you're going to do a chain. Do that until we get to the end. And you will end your last single crochet 3 together will be in your very last chain. So we'll do this again. You're going through every 3 together. When you do a 3 together, the one you end in, the chain you end in, that same chain is where the next one begins. You start it. Okay, I'm going to start over. You started in that same chain. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There's my even number of chains. The second one from the hook, we're going to go in and make a full single crochet in that same chain that we put that single crochet in. You're going to go in and start it. So you go in, bring up a loop, leave it on the hook. Now you're going to go into the next chain. So the 3 together starts in that same one where that regular single crochet was. This is where it's going to start. So we started there, and then we're going to go into the next chain, yarn over, bring up the loop, and then in the next chain after that. So where I started it was in the second chain, the same chain where that original first single crochet was. That is where we're going to start our 3 together. And each loop is in a different chain, but they're still on the hook. It's kind of like Tunisian, where you go in, bring up a loop, leave it on the hook. Go in, bring in, except it's a little different. The finishing off part is not like Tunisian, but it's like Tunisian where you go into a chain, bring up a loop, go into the next chain, bring up a loop. So you do that 3 times, and then you're going to yarn over and bring it through all 4. But again, keep it loose. That's even when you got to the chain. Which chain? Like after this 3 together? I don't know if this is showing up that well on camera. So our first single crochet was in the second chain from the hook, right back here. Single crochet. No. There's not 3 single crochets in each. No. Again, start over. You don't have to start over, but I'm going to start over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, our even number of chains. Second from the hook, go in and make a single crochet and finish it. Go in, yarn over, pull through both loops. That's a single. Now, after that single, we're doing single crochet 3 together, meaning that same chain we just worked into, go into it, go in, yarn over, bring it up. That's 1. We're doing 3 together. So now we're going to go to the very next chain. We're not finishing it off. We're not doing anything else to that chain that we just worked in. Now we're going to go to the very next chain, go in, yarn over, bring it up, leave it on the hook. And now we're going to go to the next chain after that, yarn over and bring it up. So that has gone through, and it's hard to show when it's like this. We started this get it in frame. We started on the 3 together in the same chain we did our single. That's where we brought up the first loop. The second loop is in the next chain. The third loop is in the chain after that. So this 3 together is across 3 chains. Again, the beginning of the row, there's a regular single in the second from the hook. Then to do this grouping, the 3 together, in that same chain that we did our single, go in, bring up a loop, then go to the next chain, go in, bring up a loop, and then in the chain after that, go in and bring up a loop. So that is spread across 3 chains. So it's actually the second, third, and fourth chains. Okay, so after this, then we're going to yarn over and bring it through all 4 loops, keeping it loose, and then chain 1. Okay, so you're here now. You've made your 3 together and you've chained 1. Now, got to get my pointer. This chain here, you could see the chain that the last loop came in for your 3 together. This was the last one where you're 3 together. You see your 3 together. And again, I don't know if this is the best color to show. 1, 2, 3. Those were our 3 together. That chain where that 3 together finished in, we're going to go back into that chain. So we're going to go back into that exact same chain where we finished our 3 together, and that will be the first of our next 3 together. So we've gone into that chain, picked up 1, go into the very next chain, bring up a loop, and then in the third chain in that group, bring up a loop. So each of these 3 together, the beginning and the end are going to share, the end of one and the beginning of the next 3 together will share a chain. Same thing, you're going to yarn out, and after you have 4 on the hook, and again, you've gone through 3 different chains, yarn over and bring it through all 4 very loosely. Does that make sense? To recap, this 3 together, the first one was in the second from our original chain. So we have our original chain. The first one was in the same chain as our basic single crochet. The next one was in the next chain. The third one was in the next chain. Then we chained, after we finished that together, we chained 1. Yes, your last 3 together, so single crochet 3 together, will be in your very last chain. So do the same thing, and I'll go through the whole thing. So I've chained. Now our next one's going to be in the exact same chain where the previous one's left off. Go in, bring up a loop, go in the next one, bring up a loop, and go in the next one and bring up a loop. Yarn over, bring through all 4, and chain. Again, be as loose as possible with this. So after you chain, then you do the same thing. Where the last one left off, that same chain, is where you're going to start the next one. 1, 2, and 3. And then yarn over, bring through all 4. And again, you're going to chain 1. Same thing. The chain where the last grouping left off is where you're going to start the next one. 1, 2, 3. You're on in 3 individual chains when you do that. Yarn over and bring through all 4, being as loose as possible. And then chain 1. Again, where this last one ended, we're going in that same chain because that's where the next one's going to begin. 2 and 3. Yarn over, bring through all 4, being as loose as possible. Chain 1. Again, where that last one ended, that same chain is where we're going to start the next one. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, bring it through all 4, really loose, chain 1. I've got a couple more to go. Wherever the last one ended in, that same chain is where the next one's going to start. 2 and 3. Yarn over through all 4, keeping it loose, chain 1. Now I'm at the end here. We're going to complete the 3 together. So where the last one ended, that same chain is where the next one will begin. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over. Don't do a chain on that one. So when you get to the very end of the 3 together, you'll be in it will be in the very last chain. The end of it will. You don't do a chain. And I could wait until you get to that point. And I'm going to get something to drink. And if you happen to have counted wrong in the original chain, or you happen to skip one or whatever, that's fine. Just make certain. You can always add, if you have to pull up one of the loops, if you have to do 2 in one chain. No. Okay, you did the last 3 together. Don't chain after that. In the very last chain of your foundation chain, so we got our 3 together, no chain here at the top. You're going to go into your foundation chain, that last chain, and do a single crochet. So at the beginning and the end, the beginning of the row and the end of the row, there's going to be a single crochet. And next to those single crochets will just be the 3 together. There will be no chain between that single crochet and the 3 together. The only time you're going to chain 1 is in between a 3 together stitch. So that's row 1, and hopefully a larger hook and stitching as loose as possible helps, because the test will come now when we do the next row. So the next row is you're going to chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1, whatever you do. If you turn first, that's fine. I always chain and then turn. That's up to you. So now, if we're ready, after we've chained and turned, we're going to stop and we're going to turn the fabric upward so we can look at it. And each stitch will have a V. So there's a V here. That's our first one, our first stitch. Then our next one. And then our third, it could be real little sometimes because that actually is where we did our 3 together. So that's going to be kind of tight. So be careful when we come there. That's why I said stitch as loose as possible. So we've chained and turned. Now what we're going to do is in that first stitch, which is right between my thumbs, we're going to do a single crochet. And now we're going to do a 3 together. And our first one is going to go in that same stitch that we just did that single crochet. Bring it up. The next one is going to be easy to find because that was actually a chain. Go in and bring it up. And then our third one is not the big chain area. It's on top of this 3 together cluster. And you're going to go in, and it helps if you turn the edge of the work towards you to find. Okay, we can go back. We can go back to here. So I'm back to, I've chained 1. This is my chain, and I've turned. You see my finger sticking through the stitch there? That's where you're going to go. That's the single crochet from the row before, from the row below it. You're not going into any of this stuff over here on the edge. So you're going to go into here. Oh, I got to keep moving my arms. So you're going to go into here. That's where you're going to do a single crochet. Now our next 3 together, that exact same stitch, that's the exact same spot where we just did our single crochet, is where we're going to start our 3 together. We're going to go into that exact same stitch. You go in and yarn over. Now we go to the next, and again, it helps if you turn your work and you see the V's, the edge of the fabric, each stitch will form a V. So we've done 1, and now our second one is this next one here. So if we can see, there's our next one. Bring it up. So we have 2. And now our last one is right here. It's going to be a little, depending on how you stitch, it might be a little tight at first when you do it. That's why I said stitches loose and get a larger hook. So it's going to be this very next V is where you're going to put in the third one, yarn over, and then you should have 4 loops on the hook like before. And I can show that again. So I've chained 1 and turned. You got it? Okay. So in that very first stitch, you're going to do a single. And then in that exact same stitch, you're going to go in, bring it up. In the next one, go and bring it up. And the third one is the one that's difficult. And again, it helps if you turn. You can see where it is. And you bring it up. You have 3. Yarn over, bring through all 4. Chain 1. You do that to the very end. And when you get to the very last 3 cluster, not cluster, I guess kind of cluster. When you get to the very end, your last of your 3 together should be in your last stitch. Don't do a chain after it. Do a single. So again, I'll go through the whole length of this row. So I just did a 3 together and a chain. The same stitch that our 3 together ended on is where the next 3 together is going to start. 2, and then the third one. The third one is going to be the difficult one. You go into each of them, bring up a loop, so you'll have 4 on the hook, yarn over, bring through 4, try to do it loose, chain 1. Same thing, where the first one, where that previous one just ended, That's where the next one's gonna start. Go through all 4, yarn over, bring it through, chain 1. Again, where that one ended, that stitch is where that same stitch is where the next one's going to start. So that's 1, go into the next one, 2, and then in the third one, yarn over and bring it up, and that's 4 on our hook. Yarn over and bring through all 4, chain 1. Again, where that one ended, that same stitch is where the next one's going to begin. So that's 1, 2, and then the third one can be tight. Even if you get a larger hook and you try to stitch loose, sometimes it can be a pain to go through. So now we have 4 on the hook, yarn over through all 4, chain 1. Again, where that one ended is where you're going to go in for the next one's going to start, 2, and then the third one. 4 on the hook, yarn over, bring through all 4, chain 1. Again, where that one ended, that same stitch is where we're going to start the next one. That's 1, go in the next stitch, yarn over, bring it up, that's 2, and go in the next stitch after that, bring it up. We've got 4. We got 4 on the hook. That was 3 we did, but we always, with crochet, you always start with 1 loop on the hook. So we have 4, yarn over and bring it through all 4, chain 1. Again, repeat the pattern. Where that one ended is the same stitch where the next one's going to begin. So that's 1, go in the next one, 2, and go in the third one, 3, yarn over through all 4, chain 1, and now we're at the very last one. Again, where that one ended, in that same stitch, we go in, bring up a loop, go in the next one, and this last one can be a pain. So it's going to be right there on that edge. And it's kind of like that turning chain space. Go in, bring it up, 4 on the hook, yarn over through all of them. We do not, when we're at the end, after we've done a 3 together, we don't do a chain. We go back into that same stitch and end with a single. Does that make sense? Okay, you might have 2, but you actually have 3. So let me show you. When we're at the end, if you counted right, and again, if you end up only having 2, that's fine. I'll show you how to fix that. So if you counted right and you did your stitches right, which if you didn't, that's fine. So you're going to go into after we've chained, we're going to go into the first one, the second one, and the third one is actually here. It's kind of on the edge there. If you don't have that, just in your last one, do 2 yarn overs. Go in. Oh, actually, that might not work because you'd end up. So okay, if that happened, just do a yarn over. Oh, I was off camera. I'm sorry. My camera setup changes all the time because it's not always set up perfectly. So it's kind of here off to the side a little bit because that was your original foundation chain and how it turned. Okay. So again, you You finish it like normal. You do your 3, yarn over, bring up. You don't do a chain, but in that very last one that you just finished in, do a single. And that's the repeat. It's a 1 row repeat. So again, if we're ready for the next row, chain 1 and flip, and that stitch right there is where we're going to do a single, and that will be the first leg, I guess, of the 3 together. So we go into that very first stitch. Again, we've already chained 1 because, again, anytime we do rows, or actually anytime to go to the next row around, we always have to chain something to get the stitch height, because if not, everything's going to be weird. That brings us up to the right height. Go in and do a single crochet. And now to do our 3 together in that same stitch where we did the single, bring up 1 leg of the 3 together, go into the next one for the middle leg of the 3 together, and then it'll be on top of the previous cluster is where the 3rd one. Yes, there's no chain between the last cluster and the single crochet. So you do your 3 together, then you do a single crochet, and then you chain 1 and turn. I might have gotten ahead of you. There is a bit of delay sometimes, and I know you're there typing and I'm talking. So we've chained 1 and turned. After you chain 1 and turn, that very first stitch, you do a single crochet, which I've already done mine. And in that exact same stitch is where you start the 3 together. That's the first of the 3 together. The next is the next of the 3 together. And the very next one, and again, to find it, turn the edge of your fabric toward you to find the V. And that's the 3rd of the 3rd together. Yep, that is the repeat for the entire thing. It's a 1 row repeat. That would be a good washcloth because it's got a bit of a texture to it. And it'd be really good if it's a washcloth. If you've got a cotton yarn, that would be really good. Yep, this is the Trinity stitch. Again, I'm going to finish out the next couple rows. So we've chained 1. Now to do our next, we go into the same stitch the last one ended on, bring it up, go into the next one, bring it up, and go into the 3rd. The 3rd one's the difficult one because that's where we, on the previous row, finished our Trinity stitch. Got 4, yarn over, bring it through all 4, and then chain 1. Cool. It is depending on the yarn, this actually you can see it better. You can kind of see how you got the 3 clusters there, the 3 bits coming together. And sometimes, depending on the yarn you use and how you can do it, it almost will look like a star pattern almost with the one across from it. Not to be confused with a star stitch. That's a totally different stitch. So again, the one where you ended on is where you're going to start the next one, and then go into the next one, and then the 3rd one. Yarn over, bring through all 4, chain 1, and you repeat the pattern. The only thing is, the beginning and the end, there's no chain between the 3 together and the single crochet on either edge. Because if you ended up doing a chain, you're going to increase. You're not going to have a square. You're going to have some weird edges. once you kind of understand how the stitches are formed and where they're supposed to go, it's like with most stitches. If you just you automatically do it, if you get used to that repeating pattern. And this works for any even, it has to be an even number foundation. There, that's our last three together. We're not going to do a chain. We're going to do a single at the end. Chain one, flip. The very first one we do a single, and then we go right into our three together. There's no chain there, the beginning and the end. When I first was doing it the other week, I wanted to put a chain between the single crochet and the three together, and it wasn't working for me. I'm going to do a few more rows of this before we switch over to Tunisian. And you know if you've done it right is when you get to the end of the row, if your last three together ends in the very last stitch. Last three together will go right there, there, and there. Finish it, and then immediately do a single. Yeah, it's showing up better on the blue yarn than it did on the gray. Kind of looks like almost like a star. If you kind of really look at it, it almost makes like a star or a flower shape. If you use your imagination, I guess. Okay, hold on. Oh, my single crochet came out. Let's see here. Yep, that is the Trinity stitch. Yeah, I actually like that yarn you're using. Yep, that's the Trinity. Yeah, it's important to again to stitch loose and increase your hook size. Hey, nothing wrong with a Goodwill find. I'm going to finish this row. I know what that means for me. See, my stitches were a little tight there. I had a difficult time. Mexicana. Oh yeah, let me finish this row. Uh-huh. The end of this. So yeah, since I canceled my stream on Sunday and I was doing all my temperature blanket on Tuesday, and I didn't do all 7 days on stream on Tuesday. I did the last 3 days off camera. Well, I ran out of that one purple yarn, so I had to switch to a different purple, which is fine. But that was last Thursday, Friday, and there's a white row for Saturday, because it was a high of 32. So, yeah, we do have a little bit of white in this. Okay. Yeah, and that's Trinity stitch. And it makes a somewhat dense fabric, not super dense. I don't like the white row in that blanket either, but it is what it is. Alrighty, so we're going to switch over to Tunisian. If we're all ready for Tunisian, I'm going to put Trinity stitch away. And for Tunisian, we're doing the Tunisian knit stitch. I'm going to warn you with this stitch curls a lot. So if you don't like a Tunisian that curls a lot, because most Tunisian will curl, but if you don't like one that curls a whole lot, this is not the stitch for you. But it looks like knitted fabric. It has that V-shaped, classic V-shaped knit pattern. And it's an easy stitch to do. And this can be, okay, you're going to listen? Okay, that's fine. This can be done on any number of stitches. So it doesn't, you don't have to worry about a multiple of anything. It can be done any number. So I'm going to do 20. So, and it doesn't matter what hook you use. Again, with any crochet, if you go up a size or two, you're going to have a little bit looser, but it's still going to curl because it's Tunisian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So your foundation row is simple Tunisian. So second from the hook, you go in, bring up a loop, go in the next, bring up a loop, and so on. Into each chain, you go in, bring up a loop, leave it on your hook. That's how most Tunisian stitches start, is with a foundation row of Tunisian simple stitch. Come to the end. So we got all our loops on. And again, with Tunisian, you'll know how many, if you got it right, if your starting chain number is the same as the number of loops on your hook. And the return pass is the same too. Yarn over through the first one, which is technically a chain stitch, and then you're going to yarn over through 2, and then yarn over through 2 until you get to the very end, and there's 1 on your hook. So, again, standard return pass for Tunisian crochet. This stitch, it will take a couple rows to really see the stitch pattern to form. mainly because it curls a lot, even at the very beginning. Go through each of these till we get to the very end, as usual. Okay, we got one loop on the hook right at the end. Now, if we notice, the loop on your hook counts as your first stitch, but we don't go into any of the bars as usual that are below that. So those bars there don't count. So all of these bars are made up of a front strand and a back strand. Normal Tunisian, you just go under the first strand and then yarn over and continue. Whoops. Yarn under, you go over, yarn over, and continue. We're not doing that. What we're going to do, and you want to pull that loop on your hook a little on the snug side. You're going to go through both the front and back bar, but you're going to put your hook to the back side of your fabric. So, yeah, we're going under, but we're going down behind the fabric. And then we're going to yarn over from the back side, not yarn over from the front side. So you're going to split the front and back bars of that stitch, go under, yarn over, and bring it up onto your hook. And that's how you're going to do each of them. Split the front and back, go to the back side, yarn over, and then bring it up to the front. And you just do that for all of your stitches. The reason this is going to curl a whole lot because you're bringing everything from the back to the front, and you're putting a lot of tension on those strands. Again, going up a size or two might help on your hook, or going down a size or two on your yarn. And also a word that I don't like using, blocking your work. I hate blocking work. And if you're using acrylic, you can't really block much because acrylic is plastic and doesn't really lend itself to blocking. The very end, you're going to go through both. There's two bars there, and I don't know how well you're going to see it. There's 2 bars. You're going to go under both the front and back bars of that loop, yarn over, and bring it up. And then your return pass is normal. And that's the entire stitch. It's a 1-row repeat. And I will do a couple more rows. And eventually we'll see it'll look like knit. It does make a dense fabric, a very dense fabric. Yes. Yes. Not really stretching it, but laying it flat and using the pins. It does stretch it a little. You don't want to like super stretch it, but yes. You want it to get it into the shape that you need. And there's different ways of blocking. But usually it'll be a board, be like a foam type board usually. And what you can do is you can get those foam, they make one specifically for like, for yarn blocking or other type of sewing. But you can get those, play mat tiles that fit together like a puzzle. And you can, they're probably cheaper. And then they have special pins. You can use any pin you want, but they actually have special blocking pins where it'll be a piece of plastic or whatever. It'll be like however wide, and it'll have multiple pins on it. You can put a whole bunch of pins all at once. Yeah, you want to make it slightly taut to get it to the shape you want. And then you'll mist it with water and let it dry. But that doesn't really work with acrylic yarn because it's plastic, and acrylic is not going to absorb the water. It might work to a degree, but it's just going to be wet. It's not really going to penetrate the fibers. But if you use other types of yarn, a cotton yarn would definitely absorb the water. Um, and you could do that. Again, that's for Tuesday night. Um, Depending on how involved it is, I may or may not do. I'll have to figure that out. I may or may not do temperature blanket on Tuesday because Tuesday night is basically a back to basics class where I'm going to discuss yarn labels and yarns and weights and all of that good stuff. Kind of like a refresher. But man-made fibers don't really do well for blocking because they're plastic. I just did a second round on my return pass. I've only ever tried to block something maybe once or twice. That Batman blanket I made for my friend, I tried blocking. It didn't really do much because it's all acrylic. I didn't have really good luck with it. So it wasn't perfect. But he didn't care. He was just happy that it was Batman. And again, I'm just going between the front and back bar and going to the back side, yarning over and bringing it up. That's all the knit stitch is. And let me do a couple more rows because it's very dense. The edge here. And I don't know if you could see, it's starting to form that V shape of the look of knit. And the back, well, kind of looks like the back of a lot of knitting, but you could see each row, it's separating like that. That's on the back side because there's so much tension built up into all those loops that it definitely curls. We'll do a bunch more rows. Then we go to the next row. This is kind of a mindless stitch because you're doing the same thing to each one, and there's no extra weird maneuver that you have to do. Not like the other week when I was doing the smock stitch, you do a certain thing on one row and you do it slightly different on the next, and yarn under and yarn over and this and that. No, this is all just same thing. Not too complicated. But back to blocking, I don't really block anything. Um, I would only block something if it has to be a certain specific size, like a wearable, like a sweater or something, um, to get it to fit exactly. Blankets don't really matter, and have good luck trying to block a king size blanket. Where you're gonna have space big enough to do all of that? And, no, and it's a blanket, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Same thing with scarves. I never block those. If you wanted to be technical, you could you can block granny squares, but they actually make a device for it, usually made out of wood, but not always. It's usually it'll have like a base and it'll have holes in it, and you put these long wooden pegs in it, and you slip the outer corners of the granny square on those pegs, and you could stack up a whole bunch of granny squares on there. I guess you could wet them. Some people do, some people don't, and then that way they're all the exact same square. If you want it to be that precise. Okay, trying to get this into these corner, not corner, this edge chains is not easy because it's a little tight here. This is stitched really snugly. Oh no, I messed up on that stitch. Okay, let's get it the right way. There we go. Now we got it. But blocking is kind of like a bad word. Like that 5-letter word starts with G, ends with E. They're important sometimes, but they're not fun to do. I'm going to stop here real quick, and you can see how much it curls. So even trying to fold it back, it's still going to curl because there's so much tension on all of those loops and stitches. But you definitely get that knit look because you're going behind and pulling it from the front, and it makes that V shape. We're going to continue along because, oh, wait a minute, that's a weird, um, because this is all I have planned for tonight, and I've only been streaming for an hour, and if I want to at least get an hour and a half, I gotta continue to do something, and I'm not gonna just get something random and just start stitching. And I don't think anybody wants to see any of my Franken yarn with all the granny squares. I mean, I could, but I've gotten not ridiculed, but commented on some of those hideous yarn combinations. Trying to go through this edge. Here we go. So, Grammy, how is that granny square project coming along? this. Again, yarn over and go through. Okay, well, I'll do one more row of this. I guess we can switch over to Franken's. So you don't want a scrappy mismatched one like I've been working on for the past however many decades, which I really need to work on joining um, those squares. And I think, let me look, just double check my planning calendar. Saturday will be, I'm going to do some crochet edging because I think Grammy had asked about that a while ago. There's so many different edgings out there. Way, way, way many. Like, just as many, about as many stitches as there is. I think what I'm going to end up doing is the second Saturday of each month do edgings, and probably about 4 decorative edgings per stream on those Saturdays. And I'm going to start out with some real basic ones this Saturday and then get more elaborate. Yeah, I can do that. Actually, yeah, I wouldn't mind joining them. I can still, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I'll probably still do that. Um, on, I have to figure out what day. I'll show some joining techniques for everyone else, but I wouldn't mind joining the your squares. I'll show some. That's what I could do. I'll show some basic joining techniques. I think there's usually about like 4 or 5 of the basic ones, and then you could pick which one that you would like. I kind of have a well, I kind of have a favorite one, but it all depends on the finished look of the project. Because some of them you'll see, some you won't. Okay, let's do this last one, and then I'm just gonna. Oh, no, that's fine. And there's been many mistakes in mine. Like my sample of the knit one here, somehow I decreased because when I got done the end, I'm like, why does it have 19 stitches? And I looked, I'm like, oh, somehow I decreased on the edge. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a sample, and even if it's a finished um, project. But with joining, it doesn't really matter if there's a mistake or whatever, because you're just dealing with the edges. But yeah, I think maybe next Saturday I might show some joining techniques. Well, just went through 3 there instead of 2. Yeah. And that's the Tunisian knit stitch. Got a little bit of stretch, but it's got a little more stretch that way than it does side to side. He sent me a picture. Oh, I like yours. I like yours a lot, and I like how some of them are all one color, and then you've got ones where you changed in the center. Yeah, we'll definitely get into the joining techniques. Some corners might be the issue due to proper and improper joining of new. That won't be an issue. Will not be an issue at all. Okay, we're gonna put that away, and I gotta find my J hook because that's what I use for all of my scrappy Franken grannies, regardless of. Yeah, some variegated do work well in granny squares. Okay, give me my Franken ball. And we'll just do that. Oh, I gotta get my yarn ball because if not, my Franken ball will go rolling all over the place. Okay. Oh gosh. Oh wow. Yeah. That's really thin. Okay. Well, it is what it is. Let's see. Oh, I gotta get that size 3 yarn. I gotta make a note. Yeah, but this is not scratchy at all. It's very soft and silky. I don't know if they make this anymore. This was made by Bernat. It's a line called Boa, and each colorway was named after a different bird, which I don't remember which one this one was. Maybe this was Peacock. But yeah, it came in all different colors. But they were all. It does look like satin, but it's not. It's polyester, but it's super, super silky and soft. Yeah, I've got a bunch of that. But it's very thin, and it's definitely like a size 3 yarn. I would say it's not a 4. It could be a 2, but I'm saying it's a 3. I think it's a 3 weight. Somewhere I've got. Actually, let me move my. That's what I need to do for Tuesday is to. Whoops. Get some examples, and I don't have a lot of examples of all weights of yarn. Um, it's good for small projects like trims to do edgings on. You do a simple single crochet. Um, I've done a whole scarf with them before, and I've paired it with another yarn with a lighter weight yarn in a matching or coordinating color, and that gives it some more body and easier to stitch with. Um, there is a I've seen. I would never do it because it's not really practical, but you could get like cheap flip flops, and I've seen them used as the strappy part on a flip flop. It's not real practical, but I've seen that done a lot. I'm going to get out some of that. This here is my collection of eyelash yarn and novelty yarns. And let's see if I got more. Oh, yeah. Here's some more of that boa. I don't want that to fall everywhere and have a big old mess. And this is done. This is in purples and pinks. What other one do I have? Probably in the bottom, because I've got Fun Fern here also. I don't have any more? Oh, here's a pretty one. It's in greens and blues. Oh, it's the same one. That's the same color. Okay. Yeah, that's the peacock. I had a black one, which is probably in here. Oh, there's like a... It's kind of like Fun Fur. I've got a gray one. That's actually gray. Fun Fur is similar to it. Fun Fur is Lion Brand. I don't know if they still make it. It was the Lion Brand's name. It's a type of eyelash yarn, which that's what this is. This is eyelash yarn because it looks like eyelashes. But this is Fun Fur. This is Lion Brand yarn. And you see the strands are much longer and wispier, as the boa, for the most part, they're all lined up. I mean, they do kind of get all twisted. But this is Lion Brand's Fun Fur. Again, that's just their line. They're all eyelash yarns, meaning there's a center core. Yes and no. It's easier if you pair it up with another yarn that coordinates. It's not as difficult. And a larger hook, because when you do it and trying to find the stitch, granny square is okay because you're not really going into the stitch. You're going into the chain spaces. But doing it, I would only do like a single crochet with this. I wouldn't do anything elaborate because the stitches are going to get lost. The focus of this is the yarn, not the stitch pattern. So I would never do the Trinity stitch in this. I would never do anything that's complex. I would just use a basic one. And then there's other ones. This, I don't remember the brand of that. I think this is Bernat. This is slightly different. It's got these little bumps, but then it's got some of the eyelash. Oh, frogging is not fun. I frogged all of these because these were scarves and hats, and it makes a mess. So I don't remember the brand, the name of this. I think it's, oh, worse than a barf ball. It would be a knotted mess. Let's see what else I've got. Okay, this here, and this has been used and frogged, so it's been all compressed, but this was originally flat. This is like a ribbon yarn. And again, this is not how it originally looked. It's very flat. It's soft. There's another one I have. That's not it. There's another one I had, and it was more, I think it was polyester. It was more, I don't know what the term is. Slick, I guess. Oh, here's the black boa. And I think, if I remember correctly, this was Raven, because ravens are black. There's all different ones I have. There's this. This is a 2-stranded yarn. It's got a thin, oops. It's got a thin, whatever this is made out of. And then it's got a small chenille yarn, and they're twisted. So it gives this fuzzy, but also contrasting color effect to it. I don't have much of that. Got these tiny little things of it. There's this, which is another eyelash yarn, but it's not polyester. I think this is actually mohair. This is super, super soft. Very soft. Yeah, there's all different types that I have. A lot of Fun Fur. Whole lot of Fun Fur. I think that's all I've got so far. Oh, there's this one. And again, I don't know the brand of it, but it's mostly a regular yarn, but then it's got these little, almost papery type little things that hang off of it. Almost, it kind of looks like green coconut flakes. Yeah, there's all types of novelty yarns. Let's put all of that away. So that wasted some time. Okay. Yep. Um, the fun fur. Where's the fun fur? It might have been this color. They had this. This is like a rainbow. They also had another one. It was rainbow colors, but it was like darker, I think. And I don't remember the name of the color. But Clay Miko, years ago, loved this yarn, and she wanted a blanket made out of it. Well, I told her it's a pain to work with unless you pair it with something. So we paired it with a very, very thin white baby yarn. And I was making it and making it and making it. And it got heavier and heavier and heavier. And when it was done, I said, you know what? You're not going to be able to use this as a blanket. You're going to suffocate. This is before weighted blankets were popular. So she used it as a rug. And I said, it looks like somebody skinned a Muppet. And now it's your rug. I think she ended up giving it to a family member or something. I think she said they still have it. Yeah. We kept going to the store, going to Michael's and buying more and more of this yarn. It's like, okay, that's on you. If you want to spend all that money on this yarn. And fun fur, how much it was like a 2-3 ounce ball was like $5. Yeah, and it hardly ever went on sale. That stuff was not cheap. You know what? We're not using this orange yarn because by the time I get to it, it's going to be a mess. So, and I really don't want to start with this fun fur because trying to start a granny square with that also is not fun. That will go into the additional scrap pile. So now we're going to go, oh, we've changed. We went to a size 3, and now we're probably up to a size 5. This is like a bulky yarn. So that's why I decided to use a size J hook, so it'll accommodate all sizes of yarns. 4. And finding the stitch in this is not easy because it's so dense. It doesn't really matter where exactly I get the stitch, as long as I get it in there. 2. I remember how to do a granny square. You might have to teach me. 3. 1 cluster. Oh, I've made t-shirt yarn. Yes, I've used it. That's something I could give a demonstration on how to make it. It's easy to make. You definitely would have to use a larger hook, like a J or higher. K and L would probably be the best. Yep, all knit t-shirts or anything that's knit, and preferably without buttons. You're not going to use the sleeves. You're going to use from like the armpits down. So you're not going to use the neck and the sleeves, and you also want to cut off the hem because it can be a little thicker. Oh, S hook is gonna. You're not gonna need a hook that large. because it's a way that you fold it, the t-shirt, and you cut it a certain way so it's one continuous piece, so you're not tying them together. And then after you do that, after you've cut them, it's a certain way that you do it, and then you slightly pull on it so it stretches. I've got t-shirt yarn behind me. I don't have, it's not really accessible. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not. And it's okay if it's got logos printed on it. You don't want anything that's got a lot of holes. A few holes here and there is fine. You don't want any t-shirts that have a lot of holes in it, because it'll end up falling apart. Mm-hmm. Oh wow, we're going from that blue to a pale purple cotton yarn. Oh, this is gonna be something for this one. Three. Even a J hook with this bulky yarn is not fun. Here we've got the purple. Two, three. This is not a good place. Wait a minute. Wait, how do we do this? Okay. I've been doing Trinity stitch and moss stitch. It is. It's actually, I think it was sold as a baby yarn, like a bulky baby yarn. It's very soft. Um, I don't know. I think it was Bernat also. I think it was called Bernat Baby, but bulky. If I remember. I remember all these yarns in the brand names because when I worked at Michael's, I saw them every day, and it kind of just stuck in my head. Most of most of them I can't tell you what brand they are. God, this is gonna look ugly. Um, but I don't care. What was I saying? Yeah, a lot of these novelty yarns, I can definitely tell you what it is just by looking at them, since I'm so familiar with it. This yarn I'm using here is a cotton yarn, and most likely it's the brand Sugar and Cream, which, yeah, but you see how dense that blue is and how fuzzy it is, and this blue is cotton. It's like kitchen cotton, like what you would use for washcloths and dishcloths, and it's not fuzzy at all, and you could see all the stitches. I mean, I like the color combo, but they are definitely different weights of yarn, major. Like this cotton is more of a 3, and this jumbo is probably a 5. And regular ordinary red heart acrylic is a 4. But it's all about using up scraps, not about aesthetics. It's about not wasting anything. Okay, well, at least that only has 2 colors in this one. Yeah, that's where I'm gonna. Yeah, it will, but if I stretch it, the cotton will stretch, and hopefully it's the same size as all my other ones. If it's not perfect, if it's not exactly the same, it's fine. They'll stretch and be distorted a bit. Quilting world, stand back 6 feet and it looks good. Yeah. Again, it's going to go into a scrap blanket, and the purpose is to use up what I got and not waste. And it's going to provide warmth. Yeah, but at least Mexicana can look good in certain stitches. And form our loop. Chain 2, and that's our first double. I'm not doing a granny tutorial. Let's do our next one. This yarn is way too thin for this hook. Oh, this one I paired up this real thin green with this burgundy. So this one's going to have 2 strands together. I don't know if it goes with the purple center. Oh, we're going to change colors again. It's going to be a quick change. Okay. Now we got gray and green. Okay. Get a knot. I'm going to have knots everywhere, but I ignore those. I can tell already that this green, just the feel of it, that's Karen Super Soft. Karen Super Soft is very silky, even though it's acrylic. It feels totally different than a Red Heart or a Lion brand. I slip stitch my way to the corner. Come on. Having some issues here. Changing color. Oh, more of that same type of yarn, but in a different colorway. This one's like sherbet colors. It's like pale greens and pinks, and I think there's a yellow and a purple or whatever in it. Again, another baby yarn. Baby as in 4 babies, not as in little, not as in thin. I think I will learn how to do the stitch. Chain 1, and now 3 doubles into the corner. And now again. Can't get it to work right. Great. Sometimes it helps if you count. We got purple and burgundy and green and gray and pale green, and now this sherbet colors. Oh, there's a lot of this. Oh, there's some ribbon yarn. Well, if I get to it, I can show some of that ribbon yarn I was talking about. Three. Yeah, and again, at a later date, I'll go and deal with all these knots and tails and the mess. I want this thing to pull through. And one stitch to join. Another ugly square. See, what's the next color? Oh, we're gonna have that. Oh, more burgundy and green again. And then the ribbon yarn. Okay. That ribbon yarn might show up on this one. Find the chain in this bulky yarn. Can't even find the center loop. Get my tail so I can stitch in my tail as I go. Like the way that that's forming. I'm struggling more with this big bulky yarn than it is the finer stuff. I don't want to work the way I want it to. Okay. Two, and then another cluster. Okay, we're going to change yarns here. Another bulkier yarn, but not as bulky. That one worked. Oh, that one. Definitely crochet is a lot easier than this sherbet stuff. Oh, there's not much of it. Come on. Back to the burgundy and hunter green. And again, those are two separate strands. It's not one yarn. I've just paired them together for whatever reason. Too big, but oh well. Okay. Here's that ribbon yarn that I was telling you about. It's shiny, it's polyester, but if you're using this, and I've made things before with this, it's not real soft. It's got like a scratchy texture to it, but it's really cool looking. And I don't know if that's Lion Brand. I remember that of that ribbon yarn. I don't know if they make that anymore. Forgot the name, what they call it, what the line of yarn was called. I'm dropping the loop. Here I go and make these advanced, complicated stitches, and I can't even do a simple double crochet in a granny. Losing it. Okay. Now we got the knots to the back. Do another double. A lot easier to work with this ribbon yarn because it slides easy. Actually, I have a couple of examples of this ribbon yarn. Let me, I have a couple examples of it crocheted, worked up. No, I might have used some of this ribbon yarn with another yarn, but mostly I made those purses. Remember those purses? And there are panels, and you turned them into purses. You line them and then attached handles and closures and yeah, this gradient is very crazy. Oh, you're working on your Trinity stitch washcloth? Cool. When I finish this square, I'll go get the samples of, they're just squares or rectangles using this ribbon yarn. I think I have them over there. I'm using them as, I don't know what, I have them on the other side of the room. Oh, no, no, no. Again, it's not a race. One. Now we're going to join. I don't want to start the next circle on granny square with this ribbon yarn because it is a bitch to start. So I'm cutting this tail extra long on this one. And I don't really have much of this ribbon yarn left. So that'll have an extra long tail. Let me go get those samples of ribbon yarn. That's not ribbon. So that same shiny, colorful ribbon yarn, but in a different color, that was made. And this is just a rectangle. So it doesn't really have, it's not soft at all. It definitely has some scratchy texture to it. But it's cool looking. Oh, yeah. You were going to turn this one into a purse. You put a piece of jewelry findings. I think at one time this might have been destined to be a purse. But, yep. I remember the one, it was coppers and turquoise. And we used a belt as the handle. Yeah, that one was pretty. But again, this is all single crochet because it's the yarn that's what you want to look at and not the stitches. Yeah, this is an ugly, ugly granny square, but it is what it is. And the next one, when I started, this has got mohair on it. And one thing, we're going to talk about it on Tuesday when we talk about fibers, but one thing I want to mention right now, some yarns, especially if they have mohair in them, they have something called a halo. So if you look at it, and I don't know if it's going to show up on camera the right way. Let me see if I can get a piece of... Yeah, I remember. Okay, I don't know if it's going to show up on camera. Probably not. Yeah, it's not really showing up. But you can kind of see it. You see it's got these like extra like little fuzzies. Mohair especially has a halo, and that is a property that's actually a good thing, and it adds to the softness to it. So it'd be better if it was in a ball. You can see, there we go. You can kind of really see some of that, the extra fibers just picking up from it. It kind of, that's the best way to describe it. It's got a halo. That's what they call it. So that's just a property of it. Not all yarn has that. But I think that's going to be it for tonight. We're at just about at the 2-hour mark. I'm getting tired. Put that away. Throw my little scrappies away. Like I said, oh wait, what is it? What is it made from? You mean, let's go back. This here, the mohair. Mohair is from a breed of goat. Yeah, mohair. I mean, this yarn has got other stuff in it too. It's probably got acrylic or whatever, but the really wispy fiber, like soft fibers, that's the mohair. Yeah, it's from a specific breed of goat that is bred for its hair. And it is like super, super soft. It's, yes, it's from a goat named Mo. Um, it's it's really soft. It's almost like this, like softness of like cashmere or Angora. And we'll talk about that on Tuesday. Those are some of the more softer, more expensive, lush, luxurious type fibers. So put those away. Again, not Tuesday. Today is Thursday. Saturday, we're doing a couple edgings. I've got 4 of them I'm going to pick. I've picked. They're real simple, real basic. Like I said, second, yeah, I figured that. The second Saturday of each month, like I said, we're going to do edgings, and then Sunday and Tuesday we'll resume with temperature blanket. I haven't decided if I'm going to do temperature blanket on Tuesday. I might just put it all on Sunday and devote Tuesday just to reading yarn labels, because there's a bunch to go through. I don't know if it's going to take 2 hours. We'll figure that out. So, as usual, all of my streams are uploaded to YouTube. Check out the YouTube channel that's below to see any of my past streams. I think that's it. Oh, for my live viewers, I think they said Sunday is when North Airy and Clean will be back. So we'll have some fun and frivolity will ensue, as usual. So on that note, I'm going to sign out, and everybody have a good evening, and happy crafting.